Yeah, ebusia. Nyame adom ene sikadwada roma en nananom adom ntino. Omo de King of Eswatini, King Mswati the third ababidru kumasiama washana probo ase. Na wura Manhyia aye full tour of the Manhyia Museum Palace. And it is beautiful. Emo ahwe sa video no. Na how na okoto ne church no na ni age. Yes, esanse asante de obi ka na asante so obi kire. Iwiase nyina sapepepe na ade ba ko a ene no me pese me kan wasem ade me se wiase ade bia nkamia ye se ade bia koso wiase bia asante ho bom ade bia koso wiase bia asante ho ye dey ebom un se video bi circulate ana Prince Charles punu se santimemu ade ana Ghana de kasa obi punu a hahan ni ade a ye hye ni yehye na afi wusie no efa yeso pama ho bone yare ni ade ana ye opunu bie na sa video ba yi na eja ba sa asante anasa asante fo kopie mu wo ye Caribbean no enura no de ye de hye omo ho den de Kenya wo honhom ma omutimi ho ye omo hotimi ye den ma omuku esoriti a wona na wato omo nkoa no nti sa video ba bontin no there's a generate a whole lot of conversation before we come Eswatini the end so no acho yenhwe sa video ima.
So this video has been trending for some hours now, where the King of England, His Royal Majesty King Charles III, was seen practicing what is supposedly the Obia. Now for those of you who don't know what the Obia is, it is a form of African practice or tradition that was taken to the Caribbean by the enslaved Africans. It involves spell casting and then traditional healing. Most of the Obia traditional practices came from the Ashanti people. That is where the name came from. Even though it was a combination of different African traditions, from the Igbo people, the Yoruba people, and all of them, they all came together to combine their traditions. That is how it got the name Obia. It means everyone.
You get it?
Now, this practice was used by the enslaved Africans for protection and the rebellion against their masters in the Caribbean. One particular person who made the Obia practice popular was this Ashanti warrior, the Nanny of the Maroons. This African tradition scared the colonizers to the extent that they abolished it in the 1760s. Anyone who was seen practicing the Obia was arrested. The Obia was often mistaken as the voodoo, but the people who practiced this Obia were known as the Obia men or the Obia women. When slavery was abolished in the 1830s in the Caribbean, they passed a law that made this particular Obia illegal forever. So when this video popped up, people were like, how is this abolished in Jamaica when the king himself, King Charles III, is burning away negative vibes? This tells you how powerful the African tradition was before everything they introduced to us.
That's say adie bia bekoso wo ewiase me me sure sa asante ho ye de ebom isan say impact asante make wo wiase no during slave trade anyhow they were able to fight for liberty. It's mind blowing. So this is what makes Asante unique when it comes to liberty, bringing liberty and ending slavery in the world. I think say Queen Nani Asantini or no so jina ne naso ye ebuama slavery no to try any ade no. I think say it's powerful. Yes, and these are the things we need to learn. What say yesua sa nyoma we no say said ye be ya e be kaye ni nchirima ni ye na ye ba ne say Asante will be can na Asante so ye dey e will be kire. Na me wa Asante sem so King Swati ana King Mswati the third Eswatini Manhyia me say Manhyia Eswatini himpon ankasa ho no president ni ho kroni okura president bia ni ho ohene ni diso. Yes, ohene ni diso sa ohene infan say Ghana ha say anka yewura ene di oman ni nyina so King Mswati the third wabedru na ohye na probo ase Manhyia Palace Museum estate say oye de usua say the abakosem because wakan bebre say opese osua asante amamre ni asante culture no inti opese ohu say the city strong man wiase nyina ye de egitum. So this is how the tour went. Let's see it.
It's our local language, meaning talking grass.
These drums, before they are made, the king commissions a group. He gives them the right materials to produce these drums. So anytime they are beaten, they convey messages of the king to the people. Simple. The ASANTEHENE sits on the chair, and she's also carried by 4 strong men, 2 in front, 2 at back. This time, our queen mother is carried on the head. Is carried on the head, is placed here, and she is carried on the head, telling so many things. The woman owns the family. It is the woman that controls everything. It is only the woman who can rebuke the king in public when the king does something wrong. And the king seeks advice on the matter of governance. So our queen mother or our ASANTEHENE is very powerful when it comes to the kingdom of Ashanti. Was put out by the British colonial government in the year 1925 for Nana Prempeh I. Nana Prempeh I was the 13th king of Ashanti. He was arrested by the British to Seychelles through Sierra Leone to Seychelles for 28 years. When he returned in the year 1924, this house was given him as up to 1974. Nana Prempeh I, the second, and the late king. So this house is the story. The downstairs is administration, the upstairs for their residence. So the first room we are about to enter was used by the late kings as their administrative office. Your Majesty, before we enter, this is the first colored painting to Ashanti nation. This is the 14th king of Ashanti. It was painted by a white Hungarian woman. This woman, the husband was in Kumasi, was working in Kumasi. So this woman was an artist who had paid a visit to the husband in Kumasi. So together with the husband, they were special guests to the king. So seeing how beautiful the king was dressed, and because there was no color printing, she took a picture of the office of the late kings. That is the decks, the throne, the old telephones used by them. Of course, we have the flag of Ghana, the old telephones used by them. Yes, and we have the decks. Your Majesty, we have the flag of Ashanti. The Ashanti is a nation before Ghana had the independence. So that was the flag of Ashanti, the colors yellow, black, and green. The yellow represents their money, rich in gold. The black, the strength of the people. The green, the fertility of the land. So together we say the rich black man in the forest. So that's the meaning of our flag. Your Majesty, on the wall we see the map of Ashanti. That was the ancient map of Ashanti before Ghana was born. Ghana is only 66 billion. Your Majesty, you have the first television to Ashanti nation, 1965. At that time, before you watch a television, you have to book an appointment. So that was the television. Your Majesty, at the extreme end, you have the black and white photo there. That is the Ashanti architecture. Ashanti started building their own house before colonization. So that's Ashanti architecture. So far, we have 16 Ashanti kings since the formation of Ashanti kingdom. The current king is the 16th king. The one before us was the 14th king. Otumfuo Osei Adjuma Prempeh the second. He was king from 1931 to 1970. He was 39 years when he was installed and ruled for another 39 years. So he passed on at age 78 in the year 1970. Your Majesty, that is the sister, Nana Amase Apong, the 12th queen mother of Ashanti from 1945 to 1977. Your Majesty, in Ashanti tradition, anytime we see the ASANTEHENE or the woman, the queen mother, and the king, they are not husband and wife. They can't marry. They are from the same royal family, blood related. So either mother and son, or a brother and sister. That were used to serve them. Your Majesty, you'll be asked to pick your own glass. But the glass you pick determines the drink they can offer. Your Majesty, you will not be told. As soon as you pick the big one, you'll be given water. But the small ones, you enjoy your champagne, your whiskey, telling you don't be greedy. Your Majesty. Was used as a dining room. In our tradition, the king dines alone. In those times, he dines alone. And we have this table and chairs, and we also have this object on the table, a family bowl. The Asante, I showed you Asante architecture. The Asante built the house, the compound house, in such a way that each house could accommodate between 2, 3, 4 families. So during the evening's food, all the men in the same house will enjoy the meal together. Like 4 men in the house, my wife is done, the rest will join me, they will eat. Then all our wives will eat together, then our children will eat together. It was very difficult to poison somebody's food. Still working after 75 years. We've never changed the motto, we've never filled the gas, it still works, Your Majesty. Yes. No, I'm 10. It was a gift to the Nana Prembe the second by a very fair Israel. Yeah. That is Asante textile, the Asante fabric. In Ghana, the one I'm wearing was made locally by Asante people. There is a village, a community in our kingdom that produces kente. And in those times, kente was specifically made for the royals. It's the royalty. And nobody was allowed to put on for Opokuwari the second, 1970 till 1999. It was during his time in the year 1995 that this old palace was turned into a palace museum when he was celebrating 25 years. Your Majesty also have the 13th Queen Mother of Ashanti, Nana Efia Kobisewa the second. And one of the wars that Ashanti will never forget in their lives was fought in the year 1874. That was when the British brought their ammunition and destroyed the entire nation. It was after they had taken our gold, our treasures, that they set the entire city Kumasi ablaze. And there had been several calls to bring the items back, but to no avail. Last 2-3 years, our king was a special guest to King Charles during his coronation. So after the coronation, our king had a meeting, the British Museum, Victoria and Albert Museum, and they decided to bring some of the items back to us, but on loan. On loan. Your Majesty, these are some of the things that we have brought. These are the creativity, the ingenuity of our forebears. Even though no formal education, that was what they were able to create so many years ago. It is exactly 151 years since these items were looted by the British. So, and the age of these items are more than 150 years, but they were being used before they were taken away. They thought by taking this sword, this is the sword in Pombozio sword. It's a special sword that every Asante chief uses to swear the oath of office before that person is accepted as a chief. So the reason they took this one away was that they wanted to deny us of our chieftaincy institution. But they didn't know that the creation of this sword is innate. So when they took this one away, we were able to create another one. That's why we have kept the institution thus far. So that is the Popozo sword, very powerful sword that legitimizes somebody to be crowned. Downstairs, I told you, one of the Asante kings was arrested to Seychelles for 28 years. Your Majesty, that is him. Otumfo Ajima Prempe the first. He was 18 years in the year 1888 when he became a king, the king of Ashanti. But at age 26 in the year 1886, he was arrested by the British to one of our towns in the central region, Elena Castle. Your Majesty, imagine the entire UK fighting, and wanted to fight to protect our king. But the king said, it's better for me to go alone, but to destroy the entire nation. So he voluntarily offered himself. So he sacrificed. They brainwashed him and got him baptized as a Christian into Anglican faith. So you see the cross giving him and the Bible giving him, so that when he comes back, he will not involve himself in our chieftaincy issues. But when he came back, he didn't want to involve himself in the kingship again. But as some people said, no way. For 28 years you were away, we kept your stool. So you could continue to rule. So indeed, when he came from exile in 1924, Asante welcomed him back to Kumasi. Your Majesty, that's the cloth he was wearing. he wore on the day they formally welcomed him back to Kumasi. Your Majesty, that is the miniature ship that took him to Seychelles. Your Majesty, the history of Asante is incomplete without talking about this powerful lady. The lady that we are so proud of. She was the one who led the Asante to fight the last war against the British. When the king and the queen mother and the rest of the chiefs, the warriors, were taken to Seychelles, the British thought that that was the end of Asante Kingdom. So they came back demanding for the gold stone of Asante. Your Majesty, Asante has a symbol that identifies who we are. It is the blood, the soul, the spirit of Asante. Whoever touches the stone has touched the heart of Asante. So that was what the British were determined to take away. But all the men, Your Majesty, were afraid to stand the might of the British. It took the bravery of this woman, Nana Asante, who was 65 years in 1900, who said, no way. You've taken our king, we never fought. You've taken our warriors, we never fought. Now you have come back to take away our pride.
So it is beautiful. Afeina Ashasi. Me say anything in komodie ni ade e kwaso bia o menhia bia me ba be ba pa ni nyina mu dia bro baako na me wurwuram de eni bebre videos bebre on ma be hu social media but me wurwuram kona point ama wiase nyina yede ama won so atiase ama wiase nyina so atiase say e ba ne nkyekiremu pa na vivid analysis dia no one contest. Yes, so abusia we de free menhia eba nam de bremo. And then they can message, subscribe and share. It's answer there's more on the chopping board. But that's all, share me, macro.